Final Fantasy II Labyrinth of Nightmares by Kenji Tarada. Translated by Shannon Tracy. Read by Greg Troyan. This is a non-profit fan translation of an out-of-print novel released exclusively in Japan. While the novel may be out of print, we encourage you to please purchase a copy of the video game Final Fantasy II, upon which the novel is based. Please support the official release. Follow the translation on ff2-book.tumblr.com. That's ffii-book.tumblr.com. Characters. Firion, the protagonist. Born in Salamand, he lost his parents when he was very young. Leon, a master of wielding the spear. He betrays Firion to become a subordinate of the Emperor. Maria, Leon's younger sister. She is a bow expert. Guy, he was raised by the monster Mauser until the age of 10. Hilda, Princess of Finn and leader of the volunteer army. Scott, Prince of Kashuan. He and Princess Hilda are married. Gordon, Prince of Kashuan. He is Scott's younger brother. Minwu, White Mage and right-hand man to Princess Hilda. Paul, the self-styled Thief of Justice. Layla, a pirate from Altair. Emperor Mateus, the Emperor of Palamecia. He aims at world domination. Count Borgen, Black Mage and Emperor Mateus's right-hand man. Eru, a mysterious old woman. Prologue. In the beginning, there was light and wind. The breath of the earth was calm. It became a sleeping bag for the earth fairies. Soon after, a long, dark cloud covered the sky and swallowed the light. The wind shouldered the devil's staff. The world was wrapped in darkness and locked in maddening silence. But the fairies spoke. Unexpectedly, those weak bodies did not stop their beloved deeds. A variety of smiles in the darkness. You should take care to cherish it. From the Book of the White Mage.
Part 1. Prelude to a Nightmare.
Chapter 1. Maria desperately tried to stifle her breathing. Her chest heaved, much like the ferocious animal catching its own breath within the tree break. I will not miss this time. Maria lined up her arrow with her prey. A speckled Tanian. Tanian were usually hunted for their meat, but this particular Tanian was speckled and, among their species, speckled Tanian were considered legendary. The speckled pattern was not a deformity, but rather gave the Tanian an imposing air. Unlike other Tanians, which were said to never hurt humans, this specific Tanian had already injured several huntsmen. And you're just right for the festival. In the distance, the beat of the festival drums could be heard, and Maria noticed herself gradually rising to their rhythm. Ta-ta-tan, ta-ta-tan, taka-taka-tan. At 17 years old, Maria was old enough to participate in the festival's primary purpose of finding husbands for young, unmarried girls. However, as Maria drew back her bow with all of her strength, she felt her role in the festival was satisfied by her catching the Tanian. The festival was held in the country of Mysidia, and was known as the Beltane Festival. Mysidia was a country of agriculture and nomadism, but was also home to a mountain where mages lived. The mages devoted themselves to the study and practice of magic, and did not often involve themselves in the day-to-day lives in the villages below them, unless it was to take part in the various feasts the villages had. As thanks, the mages would pray on behalf of the villagers once a year. At first the prayers were for a good harvest, but over time the wishes of the villagers became more personal as they worried over their daughters finding love. Thus, the Beltane Festival evolved into a ceremony each village held for 3 days so that young women could find husbands. The Beltane Festival began when a mage descends the mountain to perform a benediction that emboldened the young women to go out and reveal their feelings of love to a man of their choosing. Encouraged by the thought that they were fulfilling the will of God, the maidens would find ways to present their offerings, an axe that they had carved from stone by hand prior to the festival, to the men whom they admired. Once this was done, before the men could ascertain the identity of his admirer, the girl would climb to the top of the Mage's Mountain through a safe passageway called the Virgin Valley. It was there where a mysterious spring known as the Fountain of the Green Tree had sprouted, and it was at this spring the maidens would wait, naked, for men to appear with their axe. Meanwhile, a trial for the men who had received a stone axe had been prepared by the mages. Unlike the safety provided by the Virgin Valley, the men would have to climb a steep animal trail to find the owner of the axe. If the man found the woman waiting for him at the Fountain of the Green Tree unsuitable, he had the right to refuse her. However, that was a rare occurrence. Most of the men experienced feelings they'd never felt before, stirred by the sight of the maiden waiting for him. The probable cause of this, as dictated by common wisdom, was that in surviving the magic of the Mage's Mountain, a surge of passion bloomed in the souls of the men, knowing there was someone waiting for them at the end of the trial. In addition, a woman waiting for him, vulnerable and exposed, at the Fountain of the Green Tree, was thought to be the most beautiful thing that had ever been seen by the men. Guy! Maria became aware of a boy perched on the branch just behind the Tannian by watching the subtle flick of her prey's eyes. He was of dark complexion, and his eyes, sliding towards the Tannian, were as feral as those of a tree-dwelling animal. Guy had been spirited away by the monster Mauser shortly after his birth, and spent 10 years away from any kind of human contact. It had been Firion who taught Guy how to speak, and Maria how to use a bow. In the past year, the two of them had no longer required Firion to accompany them in their hunts, and they had both demonstrated extraordinary ability in their hunting. It was Guy's job to corner their prey, as he was able to match the animal in terms of raw power, while Maria's role was to take it down with her bow. Maria once again set her arrow on the speckled Tannian. The Tannian, looking for an opportunity to escape, shuddered and stiffened when it saw Guy. It was like two beasts glaring at each other, Guy in the tree, and the Tannian just beneath him. Leon and Firion are gonna be amazed. Clench. Feeling there was no better opportunity for the shot, Maria drew her bow back to its limit. But in the next moment, the tense silence between the two humans and the beast was disturbed, and Guy was distracted momentarily by the sudden intrusion. The legendary Tannian wasn't about to miss the opportunity. When Maria's finger loosened the arrow, the speckled beast had already retreated. Maria's powerfully drawn arrow pierced the trunk of the big tree with an empty, dry sound. "Ah, Guy!" Maria wailed. For a girl with such privileged upbringing, she raised her voice as if she had been hit with grief for the first time in her life. The beastly Guy looked curiously embarrassed as he greeted the intruder, who carried herself with a sensual beauty that Maria did not possess. "This is where you were, Maria. Elma, you couldn't have waited a little longer to show up? Aren't you overreacting? I was looking for you." "You were? For me? Oh, I get it. What? You want a favor," Maria said, and the pair laughed. Guy enjoyed the sound of the two girls laughing, but he couldn't bring himself to join in their merriment. The smell of the two girls had blended together and filled Guy's nose, leaving him incapable of smelling anything else. During their recent hunts, every time that Guy had failed to capture their prey, there had been a girl present each time. This had escaped the notice of both Guy and Maria. Guy because he had grown up on his own in the wild, and if Maria couldn't be bothered to care about the real meaning behind the festival, she wasn't going to be perceptive enough to discover the source of Guy's recent failures. "So, does Firion have a partner yet?" Elma stared into Maria's eyes with mischievous curiosity. Maria's attention fixated on her bow, as if the conversation held no interest for her. Don't know. Firion had grown up under the same roof with her and her brother, and Maria barely considered Firion a boy. "Okay, I need a favor from you." Even with Maria's disinterest in love stories, she knew immediately what Elma's favor was going to be. Elma's eyes glittered with an animalistic gleam rather than like those of a woman. In that moment, Maria felt a tiny rush of disgust aimed at her childhood friend, but since she didn't know why she was feeling that way, she chose to ignore it. "I thought so," she said, giving her usual smile. "So, what's this favor?" End Chapter 1.